Over the next few weeks, I've decided to start a new segment on my channel called Top 3, where I will pick a category of players either on the Eagles or in the NFL and choose an offensive player, a defensive player, and a special teams player that match this category and talk about it a bit more. The category for this video is the top 3 Philadelphia Eagles that I never liked. All of these players were on the Philadelphia Eagles and did or said something that rubbed me the wrong way while they were part of the team or once they retired. Either that or they lacked dependency as a player. So before I begin, what are the top 3 of your most hated players on the Eagles or whatever team you support? I'd be happy to read what you have to say. So let's start off with the offensive player like usual. And it might not be much of a surprise to most of you hearing that my least favorite offensive player with the Eagles was former loudmouth wide receiver Freddie Mitchell. Mitchell, also known as Fred X, was a former UCLA Bruin that was drafted in the first round of the 2001 NFL Draft. A draft where the Eagles could have drafted Chad Johnson, Reggie Wayne, or Steve Smith. But instead, they settled on a wide receiver that never had more than 500 receiving yards in a season and had 5 career touchdowns in his 4 seasons with the team. To call him a bust was an understatement. While his regular season numbers were less than pedestrian, his playoff numbers were top-notch and was known for being the guy who was in the right place at the right time. He is specifically known for catching a pass on 4th and 26 to help the Philadelphia Eagles win a game against the Green Bay Packers, and once caught a fumble ball in the end zone. Of course, he had to bless his hands and wear oven mitts because he was Freddie Mitchell, the people's champ. However, the loudmouth he was would talk an enormous amount of trash before Super Bowl 39 about how nobody wanted to cover him. This caught the attention of Patriots safety Rodney Harrison, who shut him down to the point where 3 passes were thrown his way during the game and he only caught 1 for 9 yards. In post-game interviews, Patriots coach Bill Belichick bragged that all Freddie does is talk. He's terrible and you can print that. I was happy when he was on the field. This would be Freddie's last game in an Eagles uniform. After the Super Bowl, he would dogpile Donovan McNabb for getting tired in the Super Bowl, being a terrible leader, costing him $40 million, telling strippers that he hated Freddie Mitchell, and claiming that McNabb was jealous of Freddie Mitchell. First and foremost, I don't think that McNabb was ever truly jealous of Freddie Mitchell, and how could he be? Freddie was a first-round bust and really didn't show up until the team made it to the playoffs. He was a perennial slot receiver and never put up the statistics that a player who would need to get $40 million. You can say that McNabb was overrated as a quarterback and not a good person, but to say that Freddie was is just overblown and is so ridiculous that Freddie would have to be a narcissist to believe that that is actually true. Freddie too would have his own legal problems, as he would be thrown in prison for tax fraud and would try to be relevant ever since. Freddie was not only too full of himself, but in his mind, he actually thought he was a better player than he actually was. The defensive player that I will discuss when it comes to being my least favorite Eagle while being an Eagles fan happened to be former Pro Bowl defensive end Jason Babin. Now, Jason Babin would be a bit of a different story than Freddie Mitchell in terms of talent because he actually was a truly talented player in the right system, but he really let all of that success get to his head. So much so that when he was actually successful on that 2011 Dream Team and recorded 18.5 sacks and went straight to the Pro Bowl, he decided to do everything he could to be the ambassador of the team and put his name out there instead of working hard with the team. Jason Babin was brought to the Eagles to shore up the pass rush, but the issue with the Dream Team was the fact that these players were so successful as individuals that when they lined up on the field together, they were chasing statistics and fame instead of working hard. Instead of working hard and helping the team during the 2012 season, Jason Babin decided that he would run with the Bulls in Spain, which could have put his health in jeopardy, because what if he got injured? He decided to go bear hunting in Alaska and would end up missing parts of OTAs because of it. And finally, he decided to set up a contest for a lucky Eagles fan to attend a preseason game. All of this showed that he wasn't about the team, and in the first 11 games of a terrible season, Babin would only record 5 sacks and would be cut along with hot-headed defensive line coach Jim Washburn. After getting cut, Jason Babin referred to the Eagles organization as a socialistic system. Jason needs to go back to school because that doesn't even make any sense. Sorry Jason, I don't think the Eagles' socialistic system had anything to do with why you weren't able to recapture your 2011 success. Maybe it was just because you didn't work hard enough. Jason Babin would go to the Jaguars and then to the Jets and then with the Cardinals and Ravens to end his career. The final player that I will admit that I never liked, I will say wasn't a bad person like the two above, but just plain and simply was a complete disappointment and could not be relied on. This special teams player was that of Alex Henry, former 4th round pick from the University of Nebraska. Rule of thumb is that you don't draft kickers and punters in the draft because there are so many of them that try out for teams during the offseason. Alex Henry was one of the most accurate kickers at Nebraska and was a Guy Chamberlain Trophy recipient. While Alex Henry wasn't completely awful, he was no David Akers. He did set a record for kicking 22 consecutive field goals and did record a 51-yarder. His biggest issue was the fact that he didn't have any range, and by the end of his career with the Eagles in 2013, he struggled to even kick 47-yard field goals and sometimes missed the easy ones, which would have been the difference in the playoff game against the Saints. Plain and simply, he wasn't a reliable kicker and left a lot of kicks on the field. Sure, it isn't easy to be a field goal kicker. I understand that a lot of kickers end up getting a lot of unfair criticism. However, football is a business and you have to be able to make the ones that are considered gimmies. Alex Henry would end up being cut from the Eagles and would move on to the Lions. Meanwhile, the Eagles would keep Cody Parkey after a successful preseason. I don't want to make it seem like Alex was a bad guy because he wasn't. He just wasn't the kind of guy that could be relied on. Thank you everyone for watching this episode of Top 3. Again, if you have a top 3 group of players on offense, defense, and special teams that you especially hated, please comment in the comment section below. Also, if you want me to do another top 3 topic in the future, please comment what category you would want me to do in the comment section. Thank you again and have a nice day.